All right, so welcome to the Teevee Show podcast, where it's cool to make mistakes and do pump fakes, because you can always do it again. And like did you catch it? Was that recorded? He said, it's a good thing that I like talking to you. So
yes.
We can keep doing this.
Yes, exactly.
I definitely thanked him for being here last time. That posting and that show has done really well with people in terms of how they felt about it, what they got out of it, and how they saw us as individuals having a conversation. Two guys.
Yeah, and really thank you all for the feedback.
Yes.
I received a lot of feedback on how you all loved our engagement, and this is just how we talk regularly. And I think I shared some of the compliments or some of the messages that I received that, you know, people are really like, hey, you guys are dropping some gems or interesting way of processing this, or interesting perspective. And some people even say, hey, thank you for sharing these tool set because it's helping me process some of the things that's going on in my own life. And I thought that was just wonderful to receive. So,
and yeah. as a host of this show, and just frankly as my life, the way I live it, I try to share stuff to help people. And maybe my stories, my experiences can help others. So knowing and hearing that makes me feel incredibly happy. You know where I'm going with that? We'll tell you in a second where we're going with that. You'll know. Wait for it. It makes me incredibly happy because although he and I can have these conversations in public, in private, and we enjoy each other's conversations, we enjoy each other's company, and we go in on all types of topics, all types of subjects, and we never know where it's going to go when we have the time. Recently, it's not as much time as we would like, but having said that, knowing that some people are truly gaining some benefit from it, because we are pragmatic in many ways, we have like these processes that we've been able to figure out, makes me happy. So thank you for that. But one of the other topics that we touched on, because he was paying me a compliment, so you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
You were giving me some roses, and I was just receiving them so happily. I'm like, yes.
Yes. So compliments, right?
Yes.
The thing about compliments is, and we do this quite often, and just in the world, is just humbly receiving them, right? And especially, you know, being black, like, you know, you pay somebody a compliment. Hey, bro, I'm just trying to be like you, king.
Oh, yeah. No, man, I'm just trying to be the man next to the man.
Yeah, come on, man. You ain't got to say that. You know? Like, it's a very lovely dance of communal expression, communal love. But I know I found myself when I pay compliments to people and they say, you know, like, oh, I think that outfit looks really lovely on you, or hey, I like what you did with your nails, whatever. Like if I'm paying a compliment, or hey, brother, I think that you really killed whatever you were doing, whether it's like a dance or maybe a project at work or something.
Some performance,
yeah. Some aspect, or hey, thank you for really helping me. Oh man, you know, it's not much. It's just something I thought, and it really takes away from the accolades I'm trying to give somebody. And I've done this as well in the past.
We're all guilty of it.
Somebody would tell me, you know, oh, you know, you're great in X, Y, and Z way. I'm like, oh, thank you, but whatever, right? And I didn't like the way that when I would give compliments to somebody, they would do that because it would kind of diminish what I gave them. And I realized, hold on, but I do the same thing. So how does the sender that I'm receiving feel? So now, whenever somebody pays me a compliment, I just thank you. Yeah. I just receive it and just thank you. Thank you for paying me that. And that practice alone, to just shut up, receive.
Yeah.
It's just bask in it. You know, there's no need to regurgitate another compliment. Just thank you.
Thank you. Years ago, it's something that I'm not really good at. I can't help but want to regurgitate. What am I trying to say here? Reciprocate.
Yes.
Reciprocate it, which is fine if you have something to say that is beneficial, that is true, that is real. But in many cases, aside from that, I'm really bad about deflecting. And it's only like he was paying me a compliment in the previous take, like a really serious one. I was like, oh my God. And I was like just antsy here in the chair. And I think he saw it. I think like, oh. So we're getting the hives. Because it has to be really intentional for me to shut the fuck up and just receive it. It's for whatever reason, it's challenging, and it's something I try to do now. And it goes back to, I remember the specific moment when I was, the story I was telling earlier, I was at a marketing event many years ago. It was the first one I was ever at. I'd never done anything like that. And there was this moment where somebody was paying me a compliment and offering to even do above that, or giving me some money here or there to pay for some training. And a friend of mine who I met there and got to be really close with, she was actually a guest on the podcast a few months ago. She said to me, she said, Teevee, stop and let people give people the gift of giving. Receive it. Truly receive it. Don't shut people down because you're trying to be humble, or you're trying to be humble, I guess would be the best word, and you end up deflecting because now you're going to make the other person feel like, give people the gift of receiving, and it just hit home. So it's something that I'm intentionally practicing. This is 12 years later. And so, anyways, if you ever struggle with that, make it a point to check yourself, and at the very least, just say thank you. Just let them give you that gift of a nice little compliment of receiving the roses. Yeah. So thank you for the bouquet earlier.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's back there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere way back there.
And from that, we moved on to, and I'll share this with you. I need to just talk as if that never happened. Like, right? Yeah. Here I am. I'm sitting in the past, a little irritated, but you know what? Here we are.
But that's part of the work.
Yeah, right. One of the things I challenged Mr. Christopher Sam with is when he comes on the show that we're going to have conversations. This is not going to be an interview style type of thing. But when he comes, in addition to that, to also come with a topic, a question, anything to help create something new, so that way we're both contributing, since he's going to be a regular guest. And then I hit him with this. Christopher, Mr. Sam.
Señor Aguirre, ¿qué pasó?
Órale, güey, no mames. I like it.
Habla en inglés. Yes, sir.
What is your secret to happiness? Make sure we're recording. Hold on.
Yeah, let's make sure we're recording this time. Because I was like, damn, you're going to hit me with that big existential question right off the bat?
Yes.
Jeez Louise.
I want this. I feel like, between the both of us, we have some things that I think for the most part we live pretty happy lives. So I was curious what your take was, and then compare notes with the way I approach my life.
So I'm going to start off by saying this. Will Smith once said, today was a good day, right? Today was a good day.
Today was a good day?
Yeah.
Today was a good day.
Fuck around, string a lot of good days together, you have a good life.
Right.
So to me, happiness is the choice that you make. Happiness is a choice. Mm-hmm. And I have chosen to make my happiness very cheap so I can always afford it. Yeah. Right? And we've had conversations like this in the past, and I think you created a graphic of this.
I did, because that was such a dope-ass line. My happiness is cheap. I make my happiness cheap so I can afford it. I'm like, damn. And I designed a sketch. I put together a sketch around that and tried to illustrate them, because that is so powerful. Happiness is actually really cheap. It's internal. It's not external. Externally, you buy things. And no matter what you buy, it still doesn't mean that you're going to be happy, because you still have your shit that you may or may not have dealt with. So it's an internal decision. In many cases. Carry on.
So being a bit more descriptive of what that means to me is I try to conduct my internal state in a way that I'm always choosing what makes me happy. That does not mean I'm always picking the easiest route, because sometimes, let's say I want to get in shape. Well, that means I got to work out, and maybe I don't like working out, but I have to allow myself to fall in love with the journey so I can get the result that I desire. And if I can fall in love with the journey and just make that habitual, and a lot of people say, Chris, you have a lot of discipline. Thank you. Thank you.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm really just making micro adjustments. I'm making small choices that lead me toward the direction of happiness. And there's a good book I read by a man named Sam Parker called The 12th Degree. I highly recommend it. We're not sponsored, but please sponsor us.
We are open to some sponsorship.
And the whole premise of the book is this: at 211 degrees, water is boiling.
Oh, I know this premise. Okay, yes.
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
But at 212 degrees, water is boiling and produces steam. And with steam, you can power a train.
Yeah.
And it's just going 1 degree extra. So how many things, when I evaluate and audit my life, am I just going at 211, right? And if I just turned it up one more notch, how would that drastically change the vector of my life in terms of happiness? So I try to make those decisions from an internal perspective, from a physical perspective, emotional perspective. And as we mentioned with the council, just my group of friends, discussing different things with them helps me superimpose their many years of experience and insights upon my own
Why
life.
you got to point at me like that, man?
Well, because
I have many years of experience.
you do. You do.
Why you got to point at me?
You have many years of great
Fine.
experience. You do.
There may
You
be
do.
some truth to this statement.
There's a lot of truth. So for me, happiness comes down to peace of mind. And I guard that and I protect that. It's a very sacred space to me. And yeah, I try not to let anything or anyone fuck with that. Because nobody's going to love you as much as you love yourself. So if you don't love your peace of mind and you're always allowing things to come and throw you awry, the world is going to give you trouble. It's going to give you stuff. It's like, what is that Rocky movie?
Yeah.
It's not how hard.
He's gonna punch you. He's gonna punch you in the face, and then it's not about how hard the world punches, how hard or something. How fast you get up, something like that, right? How about you punch back after something to that effect? Was that good? I'll make sure it was down here.
It was terrible, but I like the effort.
Damn.
It's not about how hard the world hits you or how hard you hit back. It's how much you can take.
Oh yeah, that.
Yes.
Dude, that was close.
You were close by like 3 miles, but carry on.
I think that's it, though. I agree. I live a pretty happy life, and for the most part, I've been there for many years, because I really try to control what I can control. Anything I cannot control the weather. So if it's raining, I don't get pissed off at the weather because it's rainy and it's not convenient for me. If traffic is screwed up, I don't get mad at traffic because I cannot control the traffic.
Yeah.
So I look at the things that I can control and turn those knobs as much as I can. And those knobs in my life I have. And I ensure that by doing so, it gives me peace of mind. Because happiness is a choice. And if you can control those things and all things being equal, and you've done the work and you're able to pay your bills, you're able to have some clothes, you're able to eat, truthfully, that should get most people to happiness. Anything outside of that is like, Or if I want a brand new car, I'm working towards it through the process to ensure that maybe that gives me a better transportation from A to B, but will it make me happy? Probably not. And then I control the things that come into my space. I actually received a message from somebody in the dance community, a good friend, and he said, something that I'm impressed with you with, that I've now noticed I'm extremely impressed with. Like I'm chopping up his exact words. I suck at this, but I am impressed with how you were able to keep yourself out of stuff.
Oh God.
Being in the dance community long enough, and this is any community, every community, when there's people involved, drama follows. You put more than 2 people in a room, there's going to be drama, there's going to be politics, there's going to be issues. And I've chosen in my life, and I used to run an event, consistent.
He used to run an amazing event and has helped grow the dance community across the United States.
Wow.
So anyway.
Thank you. Oh, United States?
US of A.
Wow. I did that.
I
helped do that. I helped do that, yo. So anyways, but
I mean, you have courses to help people do this.
I made it a point throughout to keep my peace of mind and stay out of things that I could not directly control or really didn't need me in them. The players that were already in that game were playing the game. I didn't want to be a part of that game. And in doing so, maintain my peace of mind. And it's not to say that I didn't stress, but that was a stress that I chose by hosting events. And this is just one example, but it was him complimenting me and kind of giving me kudos for that. Made me feel good because the stuff is happening all the time. And you have to, I think of my good friend, Mark Manson. Is it Mark Manson? On The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I know the name. I don't remember the author.
Manson. It's essentially, I try not to give a fucks about things that don't matter. Yeah. And the things that matter, then I give a lot of fucks about, and I'll step up to the plate and I'll do what I have to do. But it's keeping in mind what you can control. And in my life, with my children.
Amazing daughters. I'm going to say that every time you bring them up.
I see that. With my relationship,
amazing
with my business.
Girlfriend. Amazing business.
I have clients that are paying me well, and they are my little bosses. I have a handful of them, but those are stresses that I've taken on, and those it doesn't diminish my happiness. But point of all that is to say I choose to really focus on what I can control, and that which I cannot, literally cannot, I don't. It's just not a part of my daily processing. So therefore, I tend to have a really happy life. And I know that sounds corny, but it's so true. I've been saying that for years. And then I have great friends that I'm surrounded by. Like, I think a lot of people insist on having friends that no longer, like, suit them. Like, they've grown apart, but yet somehow they still insist on maintaining the connection, if that makes any sense. And they stress them out, and they're a burden, and they're not showing up for them in their lives in a way that actually benefits them, and they're miserable. So why would you do that to yourself? But anyways, you were gonna say something.
No, I was enjoying because I'm learning as well, right? And this, like I said, these are our conversations. But something you touched on that resonates with me deeply, same sentiment said differently, is whatever's within my sphere of influence, I can influence. Anything that's outside of my sphere of influence, I can't. So I got to roll with the punches to the nature of that degree. But it's like a martial artist. Or let's say if I were to draw a circle, everything within that circle, I can control. Yeah, basically within here or like my legs reach or whatever. My bad. Right? I can directly influence, but things that are outside of that, I can't. So if something's happening that maybe I don't like or is going to affect me negatively, okay, I can't change the fact that that thing happened. Mm-hmm. But I can change how responsive I am to it because the response is in my sphere of influence.
That, yes.
Right?
100%.
Like COVID. I can't do anything about COVID.
That was the most inconvenient thing in my life.
Right? But I can choose my response to COVID, how I'm going to handle quarantine, how I'm going to handle things. Right? Am I going to just sit here or am I going to try and learn new skills? Or am I going to, what's going to bring me joy? Okay. And lean in towards that joy because that makes me happy. Connecting with friends, connecting with people, connecting with my hobbies. Peace of mind because the storm, life will throw storms at you, but it's remaining calm. What is that?
You're so full of metaphors.
I know.
You should be a poet.
Actually, used to do a lot
spit,
of
poet, spit.
Fire. But yeah. So to answer your question, my secret to happiness is just understanding what I can control.
Would you say you're happy?
Yes. Okay. But I would say happiness is a spectrum because so I used to think happiness meant I'm always at my highest. No. Yeah. Because I'm up and down. Right. But the average of it, I am 51% up, then I'm down because I have down moments. I get depressed. I have anxiety. All these things, right?
We talked.
But how do I deal with it and how do I bounce back? Yeah. Because it's. I don't think getting hit is a problem. I don't think getting depressed is an issue. It's how quickly can you bounce back? How resilient are you? Athletes, right? They hurt themselves. Okay, they hurt. Everybody gets hurt, especially in a physical sport. But how quickly can you heal, speed up your reconvalescence, and come back out and be more effective? So for me, it's understanding that process for myself and having a great system in place that will speed up, right? So I don't mind being hurt, because I know it's not going to break me, because if I can't fix myself, I have a great network of people who will, right? And if I didn't have that and it's all on me, it's going to take a little bit longer. And if I didn't have the tools to do that for me, then I'm going to stay in that dark place for an even longer period of time, which is why stuff like therapy is also great. So shout out to people who go to therapy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You feel seen?
I'm trying to take the compliments.
You're doing great. So that's how my secret. It's not really a secret. It's just I make the choice to be happy, and I make the choice to just. Yeah, I don't want to belabor this point, but yeah, I just make the choice.
And I think when in moments when you're not happy, is find out specifically what's making you unhappy. Decide if it's in your sphere of influence. Decide if it's just a reaction to something that you cannot control.
Yeah.
And then make changes, subtle changes, long-term changes.
Yeah.
You're not happy because of your weight. I was starting to become a little overweight during COVID, and for me, I wasn't doing anything. Obviously, a lot of us weren't doing anything. I was like, damn it, what can I do to start making it better? I'm like, damn it, I have a choice. I do have a choice. I can still go out and walk and do certain things. I started doing little things here and there that now have become somewhat of a habit to start maintaining that, because I'm also getting older. So I need to make sure that I'm staying on top of it, because I'll be damned if I just fall apart as I get older without any intentional, deliberate practice. So knowing that I can control little things to ensure that my happiness is on an average.
Yeah. And
I'm not euphoric. I can be euphoric, but I'm not euphoric all the time and always like,
It's almost like a Buddhist principle of non-attachment, right?
That's exactly
it's like,
that is exactly what
good or bad, I'm going to make sure I'm at peace.
I'm going to do what I can with this good thing that's coming, and make adjustments, and then manage it.
Oh, even said better, it's like chess, right? You could be in a horrible predicament, but what's my next best move?
Yeah.
And be content with your next best move. But
you're moving forward.
You're moving forward. But jumping off that with how your intention and taking compliments. Oh, do I need to be closer?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
We might be getting out of the frame a little bit.
I'm very animated. You're a phenomenal father, brother.
Oh.
like,
where's he going with this?
No. So, man, I hope you bring your daughters on this thing one of these days.
They are. I've recorded one with Faye. It'll be airing in the next week or two.
Oh, okay.
And I've recorded one with Anna after summer break last year.
Okay.
But I screwed that one up. So
Faye, Anna, you guys are awesome. Love you guys very much. I have a few. You're gonna try to.
I'm gonna sit through this, right? Go for it, bro. I'm ready.
So I am not a father, but I look to people who, I guess, as I mentioned, I look to people who have the kind of lifestyles or the kind of things that I would like to emulate should I be found in that position, and try to understand what makes it work for them and how I can superimpose that in my own internal processes to make it work for me in my own unique way. You've endured a lot raising your two daughters, but you've done it, in my opinion, with such grace, and the results speak for themselves. They're very articulate. They're very well-mannered. They're, just so awesome. And I can't wait. You guys will see when you watch the ones on about his daughters, but what was your thought process raising your children? Because as I've also met other friends through you, they are awesome, amazing parents. Mm-hmm. So I feel like attracts like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
I see what you mean.
That's something again, I'm not a parent, but should I ever become a parent, I would like to raise my offspring in the kind of manner that you do and a few others that I know in my life do. But you're obviously the one who's most visible. You have it on social media. You have a lot of your parenting tips. Check out his parenting tips. How did that start? Because being a single father, making this intentionality, and I know a lot of it's freestyling, but how did you navigate that? And
that's a deep ass question.
It is, and let me also specify, because I know
it's very broad.
It's very broad, and I know him a lot. So when I say you're an awesome father, your daughters exuberate love, life, intelligence, grace, and they're so hardworking, and they're very confident, and they light up a room, and they engage you adults in such meaningful conversation. Well, I mean, they're adults now. Actually,
Right. Now they are.
I shouldn't be
doing that for years.
Yeah, they've been doing that since they were children.
Yeah.
They're adults now, so I shouldn't call them children. But how did you? One thing you've told me in the past is that you programmed.
Yeah.
You know, being a technical guy, you as the programmer of their life, you intentionally inputted source code.
Coded them. Yes.
That would allow them to acquire skills, confidence, and stuff throughout their years, even if you weren't present. Mm-hmm. Can you speak more on that?
Actually, it's something that I think about a lot. I believe that ultimately we're all the results, because it's the reality, but I think we fail to see it when you're parenting in the day-to-day. But we're the results. We're the children of the result of our childhoods, right? Whatever we happen in our childhood eventually becomes a version of our adulthood. Whatever programming, whatever beliefs were installed becomes you in latter years. As it relates to their confidence and their willingness to stand up and to speak, I encouraged it at a very early age. I needed to make sure that, because as I got older and I started going to different things and working on myself, everything that I perpetually would hear is that you just need to be more confident. You need to be more confident. But where does confidence come? Like, oh, they're more confident now. Let me just turn the damn switch on. No, there's no switch. Confidence is a repetition. It's an internal feeling that you have because you feel that you can do this. I've had reps doing things before. So for me, I always try to make sure that I've given the girls as many reps as possible in multiple contexts. So when there's time to show up in whatever new context they have to show up in as they're getting older, they can say to themselves, oh, I've been here, or I've done a version of this. And then encourage them and gave them a positive feedback loop. Well, something I wanted to touch on, so thank you for asking this question, is, and I get this from some people, especially online. They're like, well, that's why you have soft ass kids, because you're too gentle, you're too easy on them. It's what's wrong with this generation. And I feel like that's backwards. And I think that the thought process behind that is, well, you have to be hard on your kids because the world is going to be hard on them. And I can't say that is true. The world is going to be hard. But I think that it's quite the opposite. You need to encourage them so they have confidence. Because if you beat them up all the time when they do something and maybe it's not at your standards, or wait, it's not even your standards, it's their standards, your standards for them, because your own standards clearly are lacking. But let's not go there, because they're living up to your own standards. You're the ceiling for them. But where was I going with that? I'm real with them. I give them honest feedback, but I love on them on the process. Because it's either I'm going to be their biggest critic and their first hater, or I'm going to be the one that's fucking the president of their fan club. I want them to know that with me, they're going to get the truth. I give them truth. Like, yeah, you could do better. But what you did right here is dope. Now, what can we do to make it better? Like, encourage them. Because now they're going to stay in the game. They're going to continue to play. They're going to continue to get those reps in. And then over time, they're going to feel confidence in whatever they step into. And I think, I hear it a lot. It's like, man, you have to be hard on them. I challenge them, but I'm not going to be a hater. I'm not going to be a dick to my own kids. Like, what the fuck?
Something I want to mention about that, and then please keep going. But the being hard on them, I get that, right? Again, you want to toughen your offspring up for the world. But I think what's missed, unfortunately, in a lot of parental homes is that love. Because, I mean, how many children tell their parents, I love you frequently? Sons to fathers, daughters to fathers, daughters. Like, how often do that? How often do you hear that from the parents? And there's a lot of households, especially being African, like,
Yeah, please speak on that, because I wouldn't know.
But you don't hear that too often. And I don't think, like, I've changed. Like, I tell my father I love him. Hang up, hey, love you, Dad. Bye. Like,
And
how
does he feel about it? How does he receive that? Were you raised that way?
I was not.
Okay.
But another one of my council members said, "You better stop that shit." He lost his parents at a very young age, and he would give all his material wealth and stuff to just have one, to just go and tell his parents what he's accomplished in his life, right? And that hit me. He was like, "So, young man, it doesn't matter if they tell you back or not. You love on them regardless."
Yes. Agreed.
You're an adult now.
Yes.
So I was like,
Give with that expectation.
and so that's what I just started doing, and I just started loving on myself, loving on my parents, and just
Careful now. This is a PG radio show.
Oh, can we make jokes like that? are we entering that territory? Can we make jokes like that?
This is an adult show. You're fine. Just don't get pornographic. We're kidding. Carry on.
But seriously though, right? So that's what I've started doing, and it's been so cathartic. Mm-hmm. And he responds back to me. He says, "I love you," every now and then, and it just, it's if he's watching, thank you. Not every time, but every now and then he will.
It's just enough to
just
make
enough.
You feel
Yeah, but even if it doesn't, like going back to my comment earlier, I like to give flowers to people while they're alive. Mm-hmm. If anything would have happened to me, or if anything would have happened to my parents, they know that I love them. Yeah. And demonstrating love and showcasing love is something very different. And I had to learn that. It's something again, this is all recent. I recently learned that. I've recently putting it.
You weren't given that source code at a young age.
I wasn't.
You've had to install that on your own.
I had to, and kind of going back to the source code, I have to be open and submit to wisdom and knowledge from people, and then figure if that makes sense. And for me, it did. And I've been advising some of my other friends to do it. They're like, "Nah, me and my pops." Yeah, exactly.
He's like my bro.
I'm like, but I've heard from a lot of people, who've lost loved ones, and they say, "Damn, looking back, if I could just go back and just tell them that, like, I know we showed it to them, but if I could just demonstrate that and verbalize, look them in the eyes and tell them, I would give almost anything to tell them." And I don't. And going back to my secret of happiness, I try to live a life where I don't have regret. So
that's a big deal right there, man. Why are you gonna hold on to some old grudges that maybe your pops maybe didn't do something when he was younger? Like, now, show up in a way that you would have liked for him to.
Yeah.
Like this. That regret is like the stupidest thing to me.
and so one thing I'm constantly always thinking about is death, right? And
I think about it a lot too.
Yeah.
And I'm 20 years older than your ass.
Because we can go at any moment, and I want to know that if something were to happen, I've loved this world as much as I could, and
I try to that point. Like with the girls, with my family, with my parents, like I tell them I love them before I leave, because people go to work every fucking day, and some of them don't come back.
Some people go to sleep and don't wake up.
So to think that, and maybe we didn't have an argument, maybe it wasn't that bad, but to think that I didn't verbalize it or say it to them in that moment when they drove off or when they went to sleep. Yeah. Or maybe I did hold a grudge. Forget about it. What kind of regret am I? Like, no. And I have no I'm not going to carry that. We'll talk about it later if I am upset with them or something didn't go right. But I make sure I tell them I love them. That gives me even more peace of mind. Like, I've done my job to ensure that they knew how I was going to show up in their life and how I'm showing up. I'm leaving this scene in our life for this moment. Yeah. Who knows what happens when we go out there, because life is not guaranteed. And this sounds so stupid, but I actually had a probate and will attorney, and she told me that because that's what she works on. She says people, like, there's going to be an accident out there somewhere in the country today, probably in Dallas-Fort Worth, and some people are not going to make it back home. I drove by an accident the other day. The car was in flames.
Yes, yeah.
It was in flames, and I felt horrible for that individual, the family, the ripple effects. Why? Just because something didn't... I mean, I do want to say there are some real world issues that need to be resolved, and some
we're not trying
between relationships, and I'm not trying to diminish that, but putting that aside, if that's not your issue, then just fucking love on your parents, love on your family members, love on those friends that you choose to have. Like, just give them the roses, give them the love. And going back to my daughters, I made sure that they know that no matter what, I have their back.
Yeah.
That is, I'll touch on this. I think another big problem, and this is something in my chapter in my book, it's massive. Like everything in the world revolves around trust. Every relationship revolves around trust. Every failure of relationship trust was diminished and ultimately was destroyed.
It's funny. I saw this comic that has a beautiful, majestic sand castle on the beach. It has the towers, it has the moat, and labeled the Trust Castle. And then you see this tsunami coming to wash it over, entitled One Lie.
Yeah, one lie would yeah. And we've all been there, right? Either we told the lie or we're the victim of the lie. So I want to make sure that's consistent. But with my girls, one thing I've always tried to ensure that they had is that they maintained is trust. That they trusted that no matter what, Dad got you. You're going to fuck up, kid, and you're going to do things that I told you not to do, and it's okay. Because guess what? I've also done that. You've done that. And I dare you to be the person to say you've never made a mistake or lied. Right? But no matter what, I got your back. You can trust that Dad's got you. You can trust that Dad's going to be honest with you. And when you're screwing up, I'll let you know. But no matter what, I still got your back. And the problem with a lot of relationships, you name the relationship style, and the problem when it falls off is that the trust gets diminished. My children knew that no matter what, they can trust me with information, with their mistakes, with whatever. So when they show up in the world, what kind of person or how are they going to show up if they know that no matter what, I'm good? I think a lot of problems arise with adults. If you were to talk to them, it's like, my parents don't talk to me. They don't approve of this choice or that choice. They feel like I'm a loser. They wanted me to pursue that career.
I'm sorry. I'm only laughing because I remember a conversation I had with my parents about certain decisions that I want to undertake. And their response is, sure, do what you want. Now, one may end up in you getting...
Can you do it in the African accent?
No.
Damn it. I was trying because I love that accent.
You can do it, but you might get your ass whooped. Not saying you will, but there will be repercussions. Or you can do this, and it sounds like a threat. No, but the way I took it, at least, it was like, okay, if I do something in a manner that, am I okay with those repercussions?
Oh yeah.
Just basically, kind of like if I'm about to do something that's very, let's say, disrespectful or something that may shine negatively on myself or my family, there will be repercussions. I have to be aware of that, and they're just giving it to me real.
Yeah, you got to be able to live with your decisions. If you make a choice that puts you in a spot, if you say something to someone and they don't like it, you might get punched in the face. Yeah. Like that's real.
Yeah, and I guess for me, understanding that cause and effect of life at an early age is one of the best pieces of advice my father ever gave me.
Damn, he snapped.
Yeah, because this one piece of advice fundamentally changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Write this down. Good thing we're doing reels. So let's go.
So,
hey, editor, make sure you include this. Drop it.
And I think it goes a lot along in what we've been talking about, especially as we talk about parenting, compliments, love, choices, happiness, right? It was sub 10, like young, right? And I was thinking about, hey, I want to grow up, I want to make this kind of money, I want to do all this stuff, I want to do that stuff. And my father looked at me and he said, hey, son, don't think about how much money or cars or houses or what, don't think about what you want in that manner, but think about the kind of lifestyle you want to live and then work backward.
Yeah.
And in conjunction to any echelon of society that you rise up to or go to, you're going to see the same archetypes of people.
Right.
So a lifestyle is something that's horizontal, right? So figuring out your lifestyle and the choices needed to back in there.
Yeah,
so if I know I want to be 80-year-old and still doing splits or doing stuff like a young man and being active,
which he really wants to do, by the way,
then I have to be able to back into that. Well, what kind of lifestyle do I need to have? If I want to be successful in this career, what kind of habits do I need to have? This goes back to the choices. Yeah. This goes back to being happy. And I may not end up at that destination. But falling in love with that journey If you shoot for the stars and you miss, you land on the roof.
I knew where you're going with that one.
If you shoot for the
On
roof,
the roof?
yeah. But if you shoot for the roof and you miss, you're right back on the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you said that about your daughters and it just like the consequence, it just triggered that memory in me.
Yeah. So, did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I did because I know I went off because this
thought
is
you
something
went
that I'm really passionate about, and especially because there are people who have shitted on me and said, "Well, that's why your kids are soft." I'm like, you haven't met my kids. They're anything but.
Yeah.
They will cut you.
We have sparring matches with you.
Yes, right. You have. They will cut you. They're not punks. I've said this in the previous one, I think, or somewhere. I'm not raising punks, but I'm gonna love them. You know, imagine being filled with that confidence and love. Like, you know what? Anything's possible. And then they saw what's possible through me. You know, where I was able to go from where I was at, dirt poor, to being able to live really well. Like. I say dirt poor. That sounds horrible, but we were struggling. But they saw the journey, so they trust me as well. They trust that what I have to say and the advice I give them about life, it comes with some substance. It's not just theory and just like, oh, I read this in a book somewhere.
And not just that, but your circle of friends, the people that you've introduced them to, also reflect that success and that inspiration and push up that quote unquote proverbial glass ceiling even higher. Because they can now aspire to go even higher and achieve new heights. That's all off the merit of your back. You have to go make those connections and then introduce your daughters to those connections. So, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. How are we doing on time?
We're doing fantastic, and I think we should probably cut it off there.
Okay.
For this episode of the TV Show Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Do you have any final words on this episode?
Well, thanks for the feedback, and I'm glad you brought me back because it's the only way I get to see you.
This is actually true. I'm not, and it's pretty shitty. But at the same time, it comes down to the fact we need to schedule our time. If we schedule it, we can make it work. But
and on that note, let me say something too. Like, I have friends because I've been raised across different continents and everything like that. So I have friends that I've known since adolescence, and we obviously don't see each other very often, but the love is still there, right? And this reminds me of a good quote. Those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't mind.
I want to add to that. So early in the year, we talked a lot. We would share a lot. My life's gotten a lot busier. Business has been going crazy. I have my ventures and ideas. And you've been traveling a bit. You've been doing some things. So there's some moments where I haven't talked to him in a while, and I want to check in on him. Which actually, there's a subject that I want to talk about. I'm going to share it on the next one. I want to introduce something to you and then introduce it to you guys that I got from somewhere. Okay. So remind me about that later in the next podcast.
Okay.
Where's I going with this? Oh, but I felt bad because I have, like, he'll call me, we'll have a missed call, he'll text, and I'm able like, hey, you free? And I'm not free. I'll call him, he's not free. And I was like, man, like weeks, months have gone by, we haven't caught up. And I reached out to you every once in a while, like, man, I'm really sorry. And, you know, please know I do want to talk to you. It's not me ducking you in any way because I do enjoy our relationship and what we give each other. And every time you're like, you don't owe me anything. We will catch up when we catch up. But there's no animosity. There's no like, screw you, man. Like, you're, whatever. That's something I appreciate about our friendship is that when we do get together, whether it be on a podcast or a conversation, we are able to download and upload brand new stories, experiences, and talk it out and really enrich each other's lives in a way that is fulfilling. But there's no animosity around it, and you know, because there can be those relationships where they're like, oh, you know, well, fuck you.
Yeah, like I love you for the essence of you just being you. Like your friendship to me is just off the basis of that alone. So you provide good energy, good vibes, insight. Like we don't need to be in each other's ear 24/7,
right?
Or in each other's space 24/7.
We ain't got it like that.
I definitely don't, because I'm busy. I got stuff to do. He's busy. He got stuff to do.
I got a woman.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like we all got things that we have to do and take care of. Commitments. So for me to monopolize your time on the basis of a friendship is silly on its face, right? But the amount of time that you give me when you can give me, always well received because it's always quality.
Same.
And quality time is better than quantity of time.
Yeah, shitty. Just sitting around on each other's phones.
Yeah, like that's not.
You see
you're
those?
Not, yeah, you're not being present. You're
Yeah,
not
like,
engaging. You're not.
We're here.
Yeah, exactly. And because you go off and because he goes off and has his own adventures, and I do mine.
Man, the stories are dope when we get back together. Like, let me tell you what I did in Mexico. Tell me what you did in Mexico.
I think it's about time we cut this.
Okay. And with that, this is Teevee with the Teevee Show podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe. I don't know what other buttons are around here. Hit some buttons. Engage. Leave us a question. Yeah, leave us a question below. What do you want to hear about? What questions do you have for us? Just two grown-ass men talking shit about life and what has helped us get here and what we're going to plan on doing next. Until next time, my name is Teevee and this is
Chris.
And this is the Teevee Show podcast. See you next time. Next time.